All right, we are live. We are in action. Jackson. I want to welcome everybody here tonight to Fatherhood Talks. We have another interesting topic tonight. I'm Ron Osborne Williams. If you are interested in Fatherhood Talks, please like, share, subscribe. If you're interested in being a member, a father, to conversate and have some time to speak with other fathers. Join us at Fatherhood Talks. Look in the, you can clearly look for us on the band app, join our app. Or well, you can look down in the comments and see how to get connected to our Zoom meeting for Wednesday night. Other than that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let the panel start to introduce themselves. So we can talk about this interesting topic tonight. Cheaper to keeper.
Brother Johnny Gaspard, father of two, 23 and 20. Excited to be here to discuss this interesting topic.
Brother Larry Jordan, father of two, grandfather of one. I also am happy to be back and be happy to participate and not have to do three things at one time. So God is good.
Hey, good afternoon, or good evening, rather. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm father to a tribe of 7. I have one granddaughter as well. I omitted her a few sessions ago. And as a matter of fact, her birthday is coming up on the 20th, my granddaughter. So happy birthday. I have a chance to say happy birthday again live to her, but happy pre-birthday. Beautiful.
Frederick Adams, father of 3, 1 grandchild.
Gene Robert Menard, father of 2, 18 and 26.
And we got a brother in the chat. He wants us to let us know his name is Donald Jones, divorcing father of 2. we told Donald to go ahead and type it in the chat since he's driving, and we'll announce him on there. So we doing that.
Elder Thomas Alberry, father of 2, grandfather of 7.
All right, is that everybody? Okay, I think that's everybody. I think we have some young men in the chat who just want to participate and get some of the info. I mean, in the room tonight, just want to get some information. I'm not sure if they're fathers, but I know they want to probably prepare themselves for being fathers. And they probably looked at this topic tonight and said, well, they might need to think about if it's cheaper to keep her. Some young men, we got some young men, some young men we got in there tonight. So Ricky and Marcus, welcome guys for joining us tonight. You don't feel shy. You can comment and say anything that you need to say, because you have what you may tell us may help us as well, because you are another generation who's experiencing women and eventually fatherhood in a whole nother way and experience than we have. All right, so let's get to it. Hey, Lionel brought this topic. I did a little remix on it, and then I brought it back to, we had a conversation this morning, a little earlier today, and he brought it back to the core. So I'm going to let Lionel go ahead and start us off with this, because I know everybody has a thought of what it means to say it's cheaper to keeper. And what does that mean in reference to you as a father? What does that mean to you as a man? What does that mean to you as a husband? What does that mean in general? We have so many different dynamics of men who, in some instance on here. So let's hear what we got to say about that, guys.
Well, just to kick it off, the terminology, I think it was the terminology in itself, rather. It's some good information packaged in some bad grammar, or maybe you had good information packaged in some, I wouldn't even say bad, but I would say some good information packaged in some ignorant intentions, right? Good information packaged in some ignorant intentions. And what does that mean? Usually you can see this, the origins of this particular advice probably came from two guys that meant well and was probably at an impasse at a relationship, whether he should stay or go. And I think that loving friend, I'm not saying the friend didn't love him, but again, to the best of that particular friend knowledge, probably said, you know what? And again, different, whether it's stereotypes and stigmas or whatever the case may be, or scenarios come up from just instinctive. And so when you see cheaper to keeper, that's an instinctive information that just came out of a place of crises, right? And so God, like, you know what? Probably just cheaper to keep them. You understand? And again, there's no real science behind it, because again, we can come years later and try to put the science behind it, like I'm trying to do right now, but I can tell it's some good information that just came from a very ignorant place. But being it as it may, when you think about the science or the socioeconomic science behind it, then in simplest form, yeah, it would probably be cheaper for time-wise, whether you guys will be together. It'll be better or more beneficial for you as a parent, or simply, but two parents are better than one, if I had to sum it up. And so cheaper to keep in that aspect, two parents are better than one. That's a cheaper to keeper. But then again, when you think about it, if you guys divide and you have to now try to raise a child from two separate houses, that's cheaper to keeper, as opposed to raising them from one house together. So two parents are better than one, but guess what? One house is actually better than two. It's amazing how two parents may be better than one, but one house is better than two, because why take on two costs of living? That's number two. But then again, when you talk about for the married folks, when you talk about cheaper to keeper, then you're talking about child support plus alimony, depending on how the relationship came to an end. And Johnny can speak more to that after I finish to give you the legal logistics about that. But it depends on whether you messed up in a relationship or she may have messed up. But either way, whoever the fault falls on when it comes to that marriage come to the end, usually may have to pay child support. Also, depending on the economic standing or the financial standing of that person in the divorce. And again, Johnny will speak to that aspect of it. So again, it's so many nuances and science. And again, don't get scared about the word science, because always remember this: science is just a simple word for study, and study is just better yet, science is a complex word for study. Study is just a more complex word for learning, and so don't never be afraid to use the word science if it's at your disposal, especially if you're studying what you're talking about. And so that's just my take on cheaper to keep, but just to open up the dialogue to let you know you're not limited when it comes to the aspect of this particular topic.
Well, I definitely agree with you on that, because I saw it was cheaper to keep her, or I guess the mindset was just deal with the baby. That was what the topic kind of seemed to be around, being that this is a fatherhood program we're on. So from a legal perspective, it's definitely, when it comes to the child, it's definitely better to just deal with the baby. from the perspective of if you have a difficult relationship. I tell men all the time, or just people in general who are dealing with the court system and child support and that aspect of it, from the perspective of child support, I hear a lot of guys, they complain about how much they're paying in child support. And I always tell them, you're not paying as much as you would if you had that child living in your house. And they're like, what you mean? I said, well, just think about it. She paying, if the child with her, she got to deal with light. She got to deal with food. She got to deal with water, running her water every time she bathed that child. And then as they get older, they're eating more out of her fridge. They're eating up everything. She's spending more money. She got to be dropping them back and forth to whatever after school event they're having. So that means she's spending more money on gas and all of those other things and after school money for them to have. So when you sit down and think about it, the $500 or the $700 you paying for her for the month is really minuscule to what she is investing, not only in money, but also time. So when I hear guys talk about that, I said, look, it's cheaper to pay the child support. And I get it. Everybody's pocket ain't the same. But when you break down the numbers, it's always going to be less expensive for you to pay the child support than if you had that child living in your home. So from that perspective, it is definitely cheaper to move on to just the baby. When it comes to
So,
go ahead.
so are you saying that we should move out and just pay child support because that's better in the long run?
Yeah. Hey, Gene, you took what I was gonna say a whole nother way, because I was gonna say, well, it's almost like you say, hey, this whole thing is, and I understand that we have to think about stress and strain and what we don't like, but reality is put into play. And I deal with that probably more. I say personally, I'm not interested in things to put me in a place because I don't have a capacity to be in that place. Because I have stuff that can trigger me to be a person that I don't want to be. So, and a lot of people don't think about that when they're thinking about, the hidden, the under aggression that many fathers have. Just men have in general. That can be, as I say, can be the tipping point to him losing everything. Sometimes to be able to push that away and just deal with what he can, and how he can. So I hear you, but sometimes I also then, contradictory to my own belief, I believe that we should try to work things out. We should try to have a collaborative relationship as much as we can. But sometimes we find out we can't. Sometimes you can't feed the devil. Because when you try to get him the food, he bites your hand.
Right. And to your point, cheaper to keeper is not limited to
finance.
Not so much finances, but it's not limited to I guess to a personal relationship as it is to a relationship. It's more a universal relationship. And I think we see it as being stuck in relationship as opposed to an evolving relationship. And so when we say cheaper to keep her, I'm like, first of all, that's the mother of your child. So you're going to be with her regardless. You understand? Now, the cheaper to keep her part is how you deal with her. And I think when we let people dominate the narrative, it keeps us captive to the ignorance of the narrative as opposed to freeing ourselves or evolving the narrative. And that's the part we have to really discuss tonight.
Well, and I'll tell you, like, Mark, when you think about cheaper to keeper, it is, in a sense, like you said, that evolving relationship. Because what happens is, if you can work on it out of court and mediate out of court, it's a lot less money than going back and forth to court, paying those lawyer fees and having to sit there and give up time away from your job. So it's actually cheaper in the sense, it is a cheaper to keeper because you have to stay involved and be involved. And so in that sense, I agree 100%. It's always cheaper to keep.
Well,
I got a question. Oh.
Go ahead, Dr. Doom.
I just had a question from, I guess, a practical, logical standpoint. Listening to you, Mr. Gaspard, with the legalities of and also the things that she, the mother of your child has to pay. As you were saying, she's got gas and the electric when the child is there and groceries when the child is there, which is definitely understandable. But as a father that also has custody of your child and you have those expenses as well, where's the, I don't want to say mercy for the same expenses that you have to pay, but what about the fact that you also have rent to pay, additional electric to pay, your own car insurance to pay, your own groceries to pay for, all the same expenses? Just one thing I'm trying to get understanding of. Again, I don't disagree with support being paid. I don't disagree with that, but the fact that you're looking at, again, I don't want to sound cold, as the mother paying it is being somewhat harder than the man having to pay it when, we both, in essence, have to do the same thing. when the children are with each of us. So what, should one pay child support to the other when they have them, and they switch it back and forth? You know, I'm trying to understand that logic.
Are you
Okay,
asking, Doom, are you asking where's reciprocity at?
reciprocity.
Reciprocity? Because it seems like that's what you're at. You're asking that, hey, is this only a one-way street when it comes to the children? Because that's what I think a lot of fathers feel, that this whole thing is always a one-way street. And in many instances it may be, but it also can be a one-way street that you walk up based on how you handle the situation.
Correct.
You know, you can come down and go. A one-way street is still a road. It just say that it's only going one way. That don't mean you can't still ride or walk up. So I think that's one of the big
I
points.
definitely get where you're coming from, Doom, on this. Why call that man Doom?
Hey, listen, man, but before you answer, just let me throw this in there, because you know I wouldn't be Dr. Doom without bringing it up.
For real.
But the fact that I had to single-handedly for four to 5 years take care of, you know, my children by myself, you know, with my lovely lady that I'm with now for all those years. And, you know, when by the time that me and their birth mother made it into court, they didn't give two damns about that. You know, it was like, all right, you're going to be primary custodial mother. And, you know, I didn't even get a pat on the back. Not even that I was looking for that. You know, I just got the ultimate disrespect. You're going to pay for everything. You know, again, by the grace of God, things, you know, didn't go the way where I had to empty out my wallet because I have my children so much. But just the fact that there's people in that situation that I know that have their children and they get their wallets emptied out. You know, even for the father trying to do the right thing and have the children and provide for them, it's like, I'm going to dump salt on your wound. You know, and I almost went through that. Again, by the grace of God, I didn't, but I see it, you know, like I'm doing all of this and it's like that one-way street really runs only one way.
Well, and I tell people this all the time. It's about you being proactive in your time with your children with the courts. I tell people all the time, there's the legal side and there's the familial side. So while you're doing a familial side of taking care of your children and having them in your house for those 4 years, did you address the legal side at the same time? Because if you don't address the legal side at the same time, you are operating in this, for lack of a better term, this I can't even say the word, but it's a
Silo.
Silo. There you go. You're operating in that from that period of time, because the court is saying, hey, Dr. Doom, so you say you had the kid for 4 years by yourself. She wasn't paying no child support. She wasn't contributing nothing. Well, did you file a motion to establish child support or force her to pay child support? Did you file a motion to change the time sharing with the children so that the court is aware that you now have them, you know, 5 days a week or 6 days a week? If you didn't do that, as far as the court is concerned, she had them. So now when you show up to court after she files something, the court is like, well, sir, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do because you never told us about this. And you coming at this time to tell us doesn't help you. As a matter of fact, it just simply says that, sir, you didn't pay her child support for them 4 years, and now you got to pay. Yeah. And a lot of guys don't, and I understand why you don't understand that as an individual. It makes sense because you don't know. But the court system doesn't operate, again, and they tell you this all the time, ignorance of the law is not a defense. So the fact that you don't know what the law is doesn't give you a defense as to your expectations when it comes to the law. And that's the negative about it.
One of the interesting things, and then I'll back out of it. One of the interesting things before I back out of this whole thing is that somehow, coincidentally, the hearing didn't come to fruition because the mother of my kids had spent some time incarcerated, and the hearing came, you know, to her benefit after she got out. And when that was actually brought up during the hearing, I mean, when you talk about being screamed on by the judge, hey, we're not here to talk about that. That to me was the most amazing thing ever. I just looked up and I threw my hands up, man. And that's the day I got my metal mask and became Dr. Doom, because I just knew after that day. But that's all I got to say about it. Cheaper to keep her. Hey, man, if things work out in your favor, hey, run with it. But if not,
just to support Doom. And listen, and I say this because I've been in the court so many times. Listen, we get it hard, brothers. It's hard because if you got a DUI, they bringing that and they making it saying that the kids are in danger because you had a DUI in '89. Listen, and you can say no, that don't happen. It happens.
Yes.
They will take any evidence of you not being a good man, not a good father, a good man first, to say that you can't be a good father. But they don't take any evidence for. Listen, I seen it in child custodies, not just child custodies of between couples, but just also adoption, foster care. In my work, they gave a mom almost 6 years to get clean, to do whatever, and they still didn't want to terminate her rights.
Yeah,
they were still looking for a way to let the kids go back to her, even though the kids had already been traumatized, put in danger. It's just the system is I would say, they say the system blind and got the mask, but it is blind. It's blind sometimes to justice. That's what I believe. It's not blind, but it's blind to justice and fairness sometimes when it comes to us. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's just for us.
Brother Johnny, just a quick question. Do you find in your practice that, in these days, many times when you go to court or something like that, sometimes women are making more money than the men are?
Right.
Do they still receive that same favoritism in their favor, even though they're making, in a lot of cases, substantially more, where it would seem like if I keep the kids, she needs to pay me?
That would make sense. And in that scenario, yes, they would, because they look at time sharing. But that's the key part, though. You have to file the paperwork to enforce this and move this thing forward. I had a case just recently. The lady was working with not TSA, but the federal government. She literally, her and the child's father had the child here in Florida. They were going through what they were going through. She got a job working for the federal government with the aviation or something like that. She went through training in Georgia, did her training, and they offered her an opportunity in New York. She picked up and left with the child. He almost lost it. Even though he had been, while she was training in Georgia for the 3 months, he had the child with him the entire time. She comes back, she gets the child back, she gets a job in New York, and she goes to New York with the child. He lost his cotton picking mind. So he then files documentation to get the child to come back. The court said, well, sir, you're technically not the father. You haven't filed any paperwork to establish yourself as the father of the child because you weren't married to her. So she doesn't have to bring the child back at this moment. We will deal with the case here in Florida because the child is a resident of Florida still. So we'll deal with the case in Florida, but she doesn't have to bring the child back at all. So she literally left the child in New York. She would fly down to Florida. They will handle the case in Florida. During the time, she might bring the child and he'd see her, but when she was ready to go back, she took the child with her because the court, again, she was the mother. He had not established himself as the father of the child. So again, coming back to what you just said, LJ, specifically. So now she's making damn near 5 times the amount he's making. But because he had never filed any paperwork with the court, she was able to, she could have been rough on him, but she was able to get him to pay back child support for them months where she was in training.
No. Listen.
And hear me before Rod gets into his diatribe, because I know he was shot at this. From the perspective of, I was able to get them to knock off several, which because she was trying to claim he hadn't had the child for several years. So the child was about 5 or 6 at this time. So she was trying to claim he ain't had the child for all that time before. She was the main caretaker. He only had the child for these 3-4 months where she was gone for training. So that's why she should have been entitled to even more child support. The court didn't necessarily agree with her because he was able to produce receipts for purchases he had made even prior to and things of that nature. And he had witnesses come in, such as his parents, their mutual friends, that was able to come in and testify as to him being involved in the child's life and paying expenses and things of that nature. So even though in this scenario, LJ, she was making, like I said, 5 times more, now the child is with her primarily. So the only time he's getting his time sharing is on breaks: summer, spring break, winter break, holidays, and when she comes to Florida. So that means she's getting even more time sharing. So now he's got to pay her child support because she has a child more overnights than he does. Even though she made substantially more money than he didn't have to pay as much, okay, because she made that much more, because they add both parties' income together and they come up with, depending on the amount of nights you have, how they determine it. So he didn't have to pay as much, but he still had to pay, I think it was almost like $300-400 a month in child care to her, child support to her, because she had the child the majority of the year. And that's a scenario where, again, one of those extreme ones where he lost it. He was, this grown man shedding tears and everything because he couldn't believe, especially when they told her she didn't have to bring the child back. That part he definitely lost it on, because he was spending so much time with the child and he couldn't do anything about it because, again, he had not established himself as a father of the child in the courts. And when you have a positive relationship, generally, most men aren't going to file anything, or people are not going to file anything in the courts because they seemingly are amicable. Mm-hmm. But the moment, if you're not together, the moment that person has established a new relationship or, is seeking new opportunity and they are able to move.
I'm sorry. Who's a person? Who's a person?
No, the mother of the child. That's what I'm saying. Let's say you and her.
Yeah, say that. Don't say, don't leave out who the person is. Because see, this. Hey, I'm about to kind of
don't beat up on me, man. I'm just
you're gonna
say,
as soon as the person is the child's mother.
Yes. So when the mother of the child, you guys, there, Ron, I gotta pump my head. Even though you're in an amicable relationship, if the mother of the child is establishes a separate relationship, now she's dating someone else, and or seeking to improve her situation and now looking for a job elsewhere, it is imperative that you, who was not married to her at the time the child was born, to file papers in the court to ensure she cannot take the child from the jurisdiction without your approval, aka the court saying she can do so. Without that, she's able to do what she wants to do, technically, without your involvement or your say so. Go ahead. What are y'all?
Ron, real fast. I just want, because I want Johnny to reiterate this, because I think it's important. I don't want it to be glossed over, especially to the listening viewers. The fact that the man did not establish paternity. Correct. Now, he didn't establish paternity. She's taking the kid away.
Correct.
They're saying you don't have rights because you haven't established paternity, but we're still going to make you pay for this kid.
Correct.
And there's a chance you're going to pay back child support for this child if she wins, but Correct. You're still not the daddy.
Well, you haven't established paternity yet.
Correct.
So sadly, child support court, without paternity being established, is determined by the parties and what the party who brings the case to child support. Let's start there. Let's say she goes to child support and say, hey, this man is the father of my child. He needs to pay child support. This is where he works, whatever the case may be. They then send you notice. Hey, this lady claims this child is yours, blah, 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 blah. We want to pay child support. You at that time as the father can do one of two things. You can either, one, at that moment, file your documents with the court to establish paternity, or you can do what a lot of fathers do and don't object. Yeah, I'm the father of the child. And that's all we say. So now that I don't have no problem, I'll pay the child support. So now they're taking child support, because many of us, again, ignorance of the law is not a defense. So because you didn't know that upon getting notice, you could establish paternity yourself, you're of the mindset that because I'm paying child support to the Department of Revenue, I must be the father. I got rights, right? That would make sense because I'm paying child support. But that's not how the court sees it, sadly.
You know
Yeah,
what?
well, guess
No,
oh, go
I
ahead,
want to
man.
sum up what Johnny's. Johnny, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just gonna go like so hood on this one and break down what you just said. And you can correct me if I'm wrong or right. First of all, you said that the courts are usually on the side of the parent who petitioned for the child support. Simply put, what he's saying, AKA, is the law is on the side of the one who called the police first.
There you go.
One.
Good point. Good point.
Number two, he's trying to also say that there's two ways to establish child support. Number one, you can put a ring on it, or number two, you can put your rights on it.
There you go.
And that's basically it. So that is Lionel's summary of what Johnny just broke down.
You're 100% right.
So,
Go ahead,
so I
Robert.
wanted to bring, and this is where I wanted to come back to, because you even in the description you described this brother, that this is why I am so passionate about us being mindful when we take our penis out of our pants, because we do it naturally. We do it without any effort. And if listen, I'm not a biblical scholar, but you heard we usually talk about the Adam and Eve story, that Eve tempted Adam, and this whole scenario. And I tell young guys that, listen, don't everything you don't need to try to have sex with, because having sex means there is a chance to have a baby.
Correct.
And when you have that baby, you have zero control over what happens after that. Your sperm go in, and guess what? You have no more control, unless what Lionel said, unless you're married. Correct. You have a little leeway.
Right. A
little leeway if you marry. And then that is you marry on good terms, because sometimes this idea of talking about cheaper to keeper is the idea to just fake the funk and say, oh yeah, let's be together. But eventually it's gonna still come out in the wash, because when you break her heart, when you tricking off later, because you don't want to be with her,
you're right. Yeah.
You're just trying to avoid the drama in the beginning, that you're gonna make bigger drama later, not just for you and her, but also for your child, who thinks that they have this great life with a mom and daddy.
Yep.
So it's just, we have to be honest with ourselves. And we have to, some of us got to be honest the first time. Sometimes we ain't honest the first. I'm honest the first time and the last time that I made the mistake. I had a sexual relationship with somebody that had no intentions of being in anything else with.
Hey, Ron, I want to speak. I'm sorry.
A child was conceived from that. Now I and this person have to try to find ways to work out. And guess what? We don't work out in some instances. And now we have like kind of this fractured relationship, because when we talk about trust, one person wanted one thing, one person wanted another thing. And now if one person don't get what they want, they did what they want, how they want to do, and then that leads the other person to respond. Then you have this, and that is in these cases, because a lot of times we're talking about cases where guys were honeymooning women. They was with them, romancing. We was gonna have this relationship. They went through the monogamy cycle, but we don't talk a lot about the hot sex on the platter. Because many of us wasn't involved with the hot sex on the platter, and the hot sex on the platter that receives a child. And now you got to deal with a person that you was only really dealing with in reference to hot sex on the platter.
Gotcha.
And then that's where you get a lot of problems, because I know men who feel like they say it and they won't say it, they may not say it, but the child that they had with this person altered this whole way they plan to live their life. What they had planned. And guess what? We know that for women all the time because we hear them say, this changed everything for me.
Correct.
As if it changed everything for this dude too. We always say, oh, well, just ruin her life, this and that. Actually, teenage pregnancy ruins both people's life. Maybe in different ways, maybe different consequences, but both people are affected by it. So the question is, abstain, use protection,
correct.
And even when you are deciding to be in a relationship with somebody on a serious level, ensure that a child is what you guys are working for.
There you go.
Before you start working on it. Maybe you might just start working on being with each other before working on that child. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ron, Marcus asked something in the chat. He said if men child support does not get paid, we end up getting it taken out of our check by IRS or jail. Women child support is public housing. And I think just to clear some things up for Jamal, and then Gaspar, you can go ahead and give him the legal side of that. There's no such thing of, Jamal, there's no such thing as men or women child support. Child support is specifically and factually for the child. They can only be a recipient of that child support if they're the one who have the child or have the custody of the child, which they call time sharing rights of the child most of the time. And so the only person really gets the child support is the person who have the child, be it mother or father. So any one of them can pay child support anytime, but more likely by the law. And let me clear something up as well, because I think we overlooking an elephant in the room. That child support, you got to understand, child support laws are just that, laws. And so child support laws didn't come about by way of good men or good fathers. Child support laws came by way of bad fathers. And unfortunately, in this situation, most of the time you see what they say, the good suffer with the bad. Yeah. Well, sometimes the good get caught up in the bad. Let's say you not a drunk driver, but you may have been drinking. You understand? Yeah. And got behind the wheel. And they're gonna test you. So sometimes people, you can get caught in what they call a speed trap. Yeah. Or DUI trap. Yeah. And now if it's a DUI trap, they're not testing somebody, testing everybody. Everybody got to go to that trap. Well, the same thing with child support law. The child support law is saying, okay, we're not judging you. What we're doing is making sure who are guilty gets the consequences of that child support. And in most cases, sometimes, not all the time, because I can tell you in the court, most of these guys and the law is right most of the time. And I think sometimes good men, we try to make it like the law is right some of the time. I know the law is right most of the time, statistically. And so I'm saying, yeah, you are a good father. If you are a good father, my heart goes out to you. But what I will say is this: anything good will end up good. That's factual. I don't care who you are. I hear that. If you do good, the end result is going to be good. I don't care how bad the situation is. But I don't want nobody to benefit from my good who's doing bad. And this is why we got to really be accountable for our narrative, because we think because everybody's a good father like us. And I can tell you emphatically, no, that's not true. People would come up under your, what they call it, let you co-sign on the wrong they're doing and not even taking care of each other. And so that's why the law exists, because of not the good men do, but the wrong that men do. But you can go ahead and take it from that point, Johnny.
No, and I 100% agree with you on that, Lionel, because when you sit down and Ron was referencing this about when you have two young people that have a child, it's generally they both of their lives are altered, and how some men said that having this child with this lid changed the trajectory of their life. And in that case, when you have somebody who wants to be involved, I agree with you 100%, Ron. But sadly, we've had a history in this, in this world, unfortunately, of men who, when they have that child with that woman that they didn't want to have the child with, they disappear. Because they don't have to take care of the child. She does. If she has a child, and technically she doesn't have to either. But you see in this world when it's so crazy. I was watching a show. This man was having it was some old show, but the child, the wife was pregnant and she was having a baby, and when it was a girl, the reaction of the community was like, oh, okay, well, good job, nice healthy baby. When it was a boy, they're like, hail to the king, and they lift the child up and all of that. I'm like, whoa. But the truth is, we live in that world where you have some men, they want to have boys because God forbid their daughter was involved in a relationship. You know who house the baby coming home to? The house with the girl. And that's where the headache comes from in reference to how we think about it. But if you have men that are involved, good fathers that want to be involved, yes, you're right, Ron. Both lives' trajectory will definitely change. But unfortunately, we live in a country where the majority of the time, the fathers aren't involved to the level that they should be. And I say the majority, or it could be not most. My numbers might be wrong, and I'm not a stats guy. But in that case, I'm gonna let you go, Rod.
I'm not gonna argue stats.
Yeah.
I'm gonna argue that when people go and buy cars that they didn't plan to buy, they get repossessed.
Yeah.
Right. So the real factor in this, and I'm suggesting, is that
you repo the baby.
No. I'm using that as
I know, man.
You understand? Listen,
yes.
when you know you're ready to have a car and you got the money for the car, you go and get that car.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
If you go get something that you're not ready for, and they come and get it, you say, "Oh, what a bad!" You leave it right on the side of the road, and that's what we seeing happen with a lot of these. And so we have this thing that we say, "Oh, there's a lot of." I use the word, that derogatory term, deadbeat dads. But a lot of these people, again, I believe in these non-consensual guys who got involved in non-consensual fatherhood, and they refuse because you can see even, and the biggest thing we see a lot of times is, and this is sad, especially when you see on shows like Paternity Court, that a guy wouldn't be involved with this kid, but he got a whole family. He's a great super dad that he had been with a whole nother people, and people saying they can't understand, and they're at his funeral, and everybody's reading, and other kids, siblings that they don't really know like that, whatever, up and saying how their dad was so great, and they saying he can't believe the person was that. But my problem with that becomes that it becomes an issue between the kid and the father, and we leave out the crucial person who plays a pinnacle role in all that. We continue to make it, well, it's dad, it's this and that, but dad didn't. There's some messed up dad, but that mother has roles to play in this whole thing, to tell your child that, listen, this is what went on with me and your dad. Or you can go ask your dad, and the dad tell you this. But we see a lot of people who don't get that information till later on in their life.
Yeah.
When they want to figure out. And so you got 32-year-olds, 42-year-old people trying to figure out who their dad is, why their dad wasn't involved. And here's another dynamic that you kind of talk to, John. The majority is women. Dudes don't give, once they don't have a dad, they count them out.
Yeah.
They become the dad. They become their own dad. But the sisters, the daughters, they go and look and want to figure out, why was my daddy not with me? Why was my daddy not here? And then they get the story. And sometimes it's not what they want to hear. So they don't know how to approach it. We listen, and I'm not here to talk anything ill of women or anything like this, but listen, men and women are both sexual beings.
Correct.
We have this idea that we want to give women a certain virtue that they're not. Women have the same sexual freedom. Let me say, they have the same sexual freedom as we as men have. We just don't accept it as men. That's my big problem. So you say, when you see a woman and you say, well, they tested 4 people and that's not the, and they looking like, oh, she like this. I laugh at them because I'm saying you might be talking about 5 people that she might have had, but you was one of the people with her, and how many other women that you slept with, that you got kids with like that. So it's not this thing where, oh, women are this, women that. It's just that we also in our society have made it such a taboo thing for a woman to say, I like all these guys, and I'm gonna pick which one of them. In the words of Rohan Ruddick, it's his turn right now, and you're gonna have to wait in line. So it is these things, and this is one of the things that if we could get some comfortableness of how people feel other people look at them when they get pregnant and they not married to the guy that they're pregnant from. We have put a big stigma on single motherhood, but you see it's kind of changing our society because you got mothers going out here going to get the sperm donors.
Yep.
To have their own kids on their own. Now you can listen, and here's the conflict that I have in the work that I do in that capacity. They're doing it based on saying, oh, there's single mothers out here doing this. But when you ask those single mothers, they would never want to be single mothers like you be. They would give up the opportunity that you're going to go and make yourself a single mother. They happen to have became a single mother, and they would never probably sometimes even wish this on anybody they know. And you going out there doing it because you utilizing that they were successful in doing what they did with so and so.
I don't necessarily. I think when women get to that point, Ron, where they decide to go and have a child on their own, they're generally later on in life. They have accomplished things professionally in their careers. They may, they've achieved the American dream of home ownership. They drive in a nice, vehicle, and life is good. They've set aside a little nest egg. They have life insurance. They got this, they got that. The only thing missing from them is the man that they would want to share their life with and or raising a child. And many of them don't want to go through the process of, as Rohan said, giving him his turn. They just would rather just go and get some sperm, have a child, and not deal with the drama of the relationship. I don't necessarily agree with that, because to me, you're doing the child a disservice by not having that father figure involved. But at the same time, those women are making a choice based upon their situation in society at the time, versus the other women that didn't make that choice per se back then. They were just having sex and ended up being pregnant. So I think it's two different dilemmas when you explain that particular story. But coming back to at the end of the day, as far as the cheaper to keeper part, like I tell people, it just depends on what it is. You mentioned earlier, Ron, is it cheaper to keep her if I'm mentally being stressed by her? If she's stressing me, if we constantly fighting, if we're constantly going at it, is it cheaper for me to stay in a relationship to raise the baby? Or is it better for me to walk away and just pay the child support? Which one is cheaper? So that's a cost that we don't think of from a financial standpoint, but that's a cost to my mental health, because it may just be a lot easier for me to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to raise this child separate and apart. I'll pay you the child support. I'll be a good father and be involved and leave. In that scenario, it was cheaper to him to leave. It was more cost efficient to him to leave. But he's going to have to pay some money.
But a lot of guys, I think a lot of guys want to be good guys and do that. They say, hey, let's do this. Yeah. But there's so many other micro issues that occur, like new relationships.
Correct.
Old feelings for the person, because you don't have sex with somebody because you don't want to. You want to have sex because you find them attractive, and sometimes that's a person that women. I think that women a lot of times have sex because they see potential in men. Or they find them. Men sometimes have sex with women because they see they see booty. And that's not all men, but I think a lot of times when you see these guys out here, and I won't even say booty, we have a mindset that think that that's important for us. To get women to have sex, to establish our manhood, to say, oh, I can have, I'm the lion, and these are all my lioness. Type of mentality that we've been told. Whereas women approach things and approach it like he's a candidate. He's a candidate I want. And then those things don't mix out. Baby comes, then now there's an issue because this guy's saying, I don't want you. You're not the person for me. And a woman might be saying you're not. And then I won't say it's just that way, because it's also times when women get caught by men that they don't want to get caught by on that pregnancy tip.
Correct.
They're so. I never like to sound like I'm saying this one thing, because there's so many different ways that these babies get here. You know, sometimes if you're smart and you be like Drake, you put hot sauce inside your condom when you put it in the bathroom, you don't have to worry about that. But sometimes you're not that smart. I know you looking funny, but it happened.
Hot sauce. I'm not even getting into that conversation.
Yeah. The man put his condom in the thing.
I guess he wanted. Yeah, I got it.
The lady went to try to use the condom.
I had to think about it for a minute, but I got it now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little extreme, but I got it.
That's what I said.
You know, Ron, I want to pay homage to Elder Thomas, because now this may be a glitch, but Elder Thomas had his hand up about 20 minutes straight. I don't know if that's a mistake on the computer side, or I just wanted to make sure before I go into my comment. Elder Thomas, do you have anything to say after the discussion?
You gotta fight for it. Fight for it. Fight for it. If she's that important to you, you need to work it out.
Hey.
You know, and especially for your children. Got to work it out.
It's
Elder Thomas, can I ask Elder Thomas a question?
Go ahead.
Elder Thomas.
Yes.
What if I don't want her?
What if
What
you
I got
don't
to
want
do?
them?
If I ain't want her.
Well, keep your cucumber in your pocket. Yeah.
Or your celery, whatever one you get.
Celery.
It is, you know?
Eggplant. Yeah, keep your eggplant in the,
Hey, you
in the
know.
bag.
Listen, y'all, I'm hurting, right? My back hurting. That y'all got me up in here laughing. I can't even sit straight in this chair.
No, every hole don't need to be filled.
You definitely been holding that comment. Go ahead. Elder Thomas, you on the roll. Keep it up. You on the roll.
Y'all got him started.
That's it. You know, you just gotta.
No, but what you're saying is, and now this, and it's coincidentally, I think it's divine that you just said what you said, Elder Thomas, because that's actually my next comment, where when we're talking about accountability of men, I think we can talk about accountability, but we don't have the real, what do you call it, conditioning to actually put a demand on men's kind of accountability. And here's why. And because if we say, because your stress, take the easy way out, right? And a woman is under that equal amount of stress from her children. You understand? She don't get to, you understand, have that freedom, that abandonment, or that panic room. She can pull that lever, where men, we pull the lever so quick on women, which speaks back to Elder Thomas' point, which is, I think, is a very poignant point, that we need to be a little bit more conditioned to be companions versus conquerors. And I think that's, now to Ron's point, I think most of the time that, yeah, we do have a conqueror conditioning as opposed to companionship. So when you having a conqueror meeting somebody who wants companionship, you understand, then that's going to be, yeah, I'm like, one becomes predator, the other one becomes prey. We don't think much of that. But I'm like, no, that can be detrimental to her in the short term. But it can be detrimental to you in the long term, because a lot of times when you leave us out there in our habits, you got to remember it's a habit. All we doing is we're most of the time, and it's so psychological and borderline insane or insanity when you think about, I need 3 to 5 women to get what I'm getting from one woman. And so we think the outcome and the euphoric outcome, simply put, if I'm going to put it, the nut. You think busting a nut, the same nut that you're going to get with one woman, it's going to be 5 different nuts with 5 other women. I'm like, no, it's the same outcome, but the conditioning, right, have got us literally temporarily or longevity insane, because we will spend the rest of our life chasing, and the crackheads will tell you, because I went to a few, and I used to work in a few substance abuse centers. They tell you after that one hit, they spend the rest of their life until they get into recovery, trying to get that first feeling. And so it's no different when it comes to sex. Only thing we think is different, but I'm like, no, it's not different. Anything that's euphoric in nature is addictive. And because of that, what we do, we don't hold no real, and it's amazing how we hold more our monetary values more higher than our moral values. And in the long term, it's your moral values that's gonna sacrifice you quicker than your monetary. There's certain things that money can't fix. And so when you develop, and I'm just gonna be real with you, there's some let's talk about some things that we don't see, the unpopular things that comes with that promiscuous spirit, or that promiscuous, not spirit, but let's keep it scientific, that promiscuous behavior. You don't see guys who would ride around, burn 2 tanks of glass all night, just riding. In the hood, we started riding and looking. And looking for anything they can get up their hand on. And if they can't find that woman, they would try to get with something else. You don't see the behavior where that thing can turn so psychological, where you may start touching children. You don't see that thing where it can take you and actually, and I mean, to be honest with you, this behavior can take you in some dark places that men don't talk about. And I'm going to tell you, I can talk about it not because I'm a social worker, because I'm a man. What they said, I'm not just a haircut president, I'm also a client. And so this behavior, if you don't get a handle on, and this is why that woman was really created for you, because you think this woman is a companion. I'm like, no, baby, she's therapy. But things we don't want to discuss. And I'm telling you, man, this sexual addiction, when it becomes an addiction, the problem is you don't know that's an addiction, because the first rule to recovery, you got to admit that you have an addiction.
There you go. And
so when you don't know that, it can turn dark. I mean, they had the guy, and the poor guy, I'm talking about this handsome guy, very well accomplished. He is the guy, the creme of the creme, to the fact that he's a black guy. Even white women wanted him. Rich white women wanted him. And come to find out, his addiction at the guy so bad, he was sleeping with animals. And they call that bestiality. These are real issues. And I'm sorry to say, but we as men, and this is why this particular conversation, Fatherhood Talk, is so important, is because we're going to take you down some avenues that men just don't have the guts to discuss, that may save your life. If you have an addiction, you're going to try by any means necessary to fill that addiction. If you don't believe me, ask the very teacher who will normally cross that moral line. But most of the time when you see those the teachers crossing the line with those students and stuff like that, and both men and women, it's because they didn't respect the laws of companionship.
Yep.
Or the value of companionship. Because I don't even want you to be in, if it takes a law to keep you there, then don't be there.
Don't be there. Gotcha.
But the value of companionship is what we really need to, and I'm talking mainly to the young guys on there. You got to be careful, man, because these sexual addictions that we have as men, or better yet, sexual entitlement that turns into addiction, can take you into some dark places. But that's going to be another show.
Hey, Ilana, you hit it right. You know, as you was talking, I was thinking of how we as men act when women have their sexual freedom. So the idea that if you want to have sex with 6 women, right? There are women out there who are interested in that lifestyle with you, right?
Yep.
But you don't want to be with them, because they also gonna tell you that they're about to do their thing. Well, if you're not at their house, they doing their thing, what they got to do. They're not waiting on you. And that's, again, turning back to our ego.
Correct.
Even to the point, the ego that we have, that's when sometimes we try to flip up and get them pregnant. See, I ain't letting people off the hook. People ain't just catching babies on us. We be trying to catch babies on women as well.
True.
And that's more of an ego thing. Like, oh no, if I give a baby, because I know from back in the day, one of the key domestic violence technique, let me say abuse techniques that was established that most people would never feel, is keeping a woman pregnant.
Yeah.
So you meet a woman who got kids that's in a stepping order. That's done. That's not done. You know, some people say in the community relationship that's positive, it's done to say, baby, let's get these babies out the way. I'm gonna work, and then you have the babies, and then we're gonna swap. Then you go and do your thing. That's the sale. But normally what it becomes is, now you got 4 kids, all under 4.
Yeah.
What woman can do anything with 4 kids under 4? She is stuck now almost to do nothing but be completely dependent upon a man who then is out staying at somebody else's house now.
Hey, Ron.
I ain't getting that. Listen, I'm behind the brothers, I'm behind the fathers 100%. But listen, you, as much as I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna keep it real. We do some things because we have some insecurities about our own manhood. We think that using these women, and now I'm getting in trouble because last night we get cursed out on another show about protecting all Black women. But it got me in this spirit to say that we want things right for us. We got to do right by other people. Amen. I agree that many women do things that's messed up, but you can't control what messed up things they do. You just got to do right by your part. And again, I think Elder Thomas said it. I think that Lana said it. All of it come out in the wash. You can't get good from evil.
That's it.
Just do good. Mm-hmm. And you'll be okay. Do what you're supposed to do. Do the right thing. Try to always cooperate. And if you can, just do the best that you can for your child. That's all you can do. That's the basic. But don't get into these petty, because guess what? You have more power to do more harm to her in the long run than she ever could do to you. Yes, so you're never gonna be a victim, brother. We never gonna be the victim. And no other man gonna see you as a victim to a woman. Police pull up, you got the knife hanging out your throat. They're gonna ask you what you did. They ask you what you did to make her stab that knife. They're not gonna say, "Oh, let's run it down."
You ain't lying though. You ain't lying.
Remember our position. Remember where we stand, and that we would be better to have patience and mercy than to use vengeance.
And I 100% agree with you, Ron, from the aspect of the whole cheaper to keeper thing and all of those things. At the end of the day, if we just do our part with being fathers, being involved with our children, that's the good that's going to come. Because I know many of men, which is so crazy, that have been horrible fathers, have not been involved. The child always wondered. He always said he gonna come and he never show up to pick him up. And 30 years later, now the child is grown, the father's older, and they end up forming this great relationship after hating. And the mom is, and I know some of these moms be sitting over there wondering, what kind of bull is this? Are you kidding me? This N-word here ain't been around in your life. He ain't give me a dime to take care of shit. And now you and him all cozying up, going to the game together? You calling him out at your wedding? You want to dance with this? What? And I know that's what the moms are thinking. But at the end of the day, that's the part of this life that we're living in. And yes, the father may end up getting that, but the pain that he had to go through to even get there was extreme as well. Because I'm sure there's a lot of, putting that ego to the side and some prideful hits. But I just say, if we just be good fathers, regardless of whether or not we have a positive relationship with the mom, it at the end of the day will work out the way it's supposed to. She will eventually get to the point where she doesn't have a choice but to say, he's a good father. Even if she can't stand your guts. If you show up every weekend and take them kids, if you show up, you are involved with their schoolwork, doing what she gonna say? She can't say nothing other than he a good father, no matter how much she want to talk bad about you.
What do it matter? Listen, let me ask you this question. Do it matter if they say you're a good father?
For some men it does. I'm not saying that it should matter, but for some men it does, because they want that acknowledgement that they are doing the right thing from her, because we have such a fighting relationship. And sadly, but Ron, sadly, some men will go through that headache of trying to prove to her. The only reason they're doing it is to prove to her that they are a good father. That's the only reason why they showing up, which is crazy. But
I say be very careful what you try to prove to somebody else.
100% agree.
That's all I'm saying. Because sometimes we learned this early when we was younger. We trying to prove we something to our young peers, and they not that. Be what you know that's best to be, and then you might do better. Trying to prove something to somebody, because a lot of times proving something to them is so we can come at 3 o'clock in the morning and visit our kids. I'm keeping it real. We go to visit our kids at 3 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
So
while they
you're
are
saying-
when they sleep
so you're saying
and have breakfast with them in the morning.
So what you're saying, Rod, is the only reason that we're doing the constant fatherhood part is for her to at some point see me as the kind of man she was hoping that I would be, so she would let me back in her bedroom again. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Rod?
I'm just saying that's what some people listen, I'm just saying that's what some people do. Listen, there's a trend out here where people are doing this, it's like if you don't gotta be with me long as I still got you.
I hear you. Okay.
You don't gotta be with me. We'll be cool and everything. But if you stop coming and I stop getting what I need, not just the kids stop getting, because you've been giving the kid. If I can stop getting what I need, then it's gonna be trouble.
And Ron,
Yes, sir.
yeah, you back in the day there was a term that used to say, keep her barefoot and pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You heard that?
That's it.
That's all I want to say. It popped me in the head, and I said it. Keep them barefoot and pregnant. They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, that don't operate today. That don't work today, Thomas, because they'll keep you barefoot and broke. That's because that ain't working. Listen, we gotta accept. Listen, in our community, and I'm gonna be clear. The money, listen, we have a little percentage of the men who are the main money getters. The rest of us working class men. And the women are getting opportunities. I'm not gonna say they're getting jobs, but they're getting opportunities to really make be the breadwinners. So if you really want to be positive about this and you can let go of some of your ego, you need to go join with somebody who can make that kind of bread to bring back to a union that y'all can have big, because she can make all kinds of, she got inroads, she got ways to make money. But sometimes she may not have the means to need the counsel, because if any woman who's a professional Black woman who works in the professional workplace, she has a lot of stress, a lot of strain, and she got to come home. If she don't have somebody to come and really give her the comfort, the support, and the guidance that she needs, she running crazy. So you got to say, well, I work at this how I handle when I'm up there working at the construction site. So try to do this, baby. And don't worry, don't get too stressed. Remember, we getting these coins to get this house out the west side. Because we trying to move from the east side. So don't worry. Come on, let me rub your feet. Get ready for bed. Because these are the kind of things that we talking about the unity of a family to make. We in many instances I see we in this battle like, gee, they making all this. Oh, we got a fat. They trying to take our place. Listen, we ain't got no place. Our place is together.
Amen.
Ain't no. We
Ron,
can't get.
You know what?
Yeah.
Ron just opened up a can of worms. Ron, you know what? Since you open up this can of worms, Ron, and J Rod, you're gonna love this next one here. Since you open up that can of worm, Ron, we have to do a counter to this cheaper to keep her. And it's going on what you just explained, that women are making more money than men. Should it be we should have the topic cheaper to keep him? And I think it's a good discussion where we can invite women to discussion, so we can have 2 points of view that's fairly represented and find out how they really feel about this topic. Because I think most of the time we're doing topics, but we don't have no counter topics. And so I think that we should give the women at least once a month or once every month we do this to counter some of the topics that we do, because we have about almost close to 20 topics on here, but we don't have no counters on this. And that will really up the stakes of this conversation. But I'm just crazy like that. How you feel about that, Lawrence?
Lionel, I never turned down a good idea because I know how meaningful and resourceful and educational that can be for people to watch, because our intentions are positive and solution oriented. So what our intentions are is what it will become. And the reality of, because I you give a great point, because I was listening to, I like to watch this girl named Kendra G. She on Instagram, Facebook, singles. She have a single show. where people log on Instagram, Facebook, and they describe themselves. And I heard this young lady from Canada, man, and she said something that was so powerful because most of the women come on there and Kendra asked them about finances. And most of these women be saying, yeah, I need a guy, make 6 figures. He need to do this, do this. And I'm thinking to myself, who are these guys? You know, most of those guys are jerks. They're not going to give you any of the things that you really want because they know you dime a dozen of them. You know what this woman said that was so amazing? She said, I'm just looking for a man who the money, when he makes money, it won't be important. I just don't want us to have problems in our relationship about money. And I thought to myself, that's powerful because that means that she understands that he may not be making 6 figures, but he ain't got money problems. If a man can take care of himself, he definitely can join with you and continue to build to make money. Y'all can live a sustainable life, to go on trips, to do all the things you need. Y'all might need to work. Y'all might need to work on before y'all decide to have kids, or that y'all bring kids already in there. How y'all gonna manage to bring the kids in, and how much money that costs? Because we know right now, everybody getting ready for school, that's about $2,000 or $3,000 that you didn't get back. Well, the same $3,000 you're getting on that tax refund is mostly what you're gonna have to end up paying, unless you done mismanage the money. Your tax refund, the tax deduction, ain't that what they call the child tax? That's the money you're supposed to be using to get ready the kids for school this month and things of that nature. So it's just a lot of valuable things. And you bring a great point, Lana, for us to give an opportunity to hear those women, be able to give their viewpoint of fatherhood, or the topic that we're going to talk about. It would be wonderful to get that. And then, the other thing, I know our ratings will go up because they're going to tell all their friends to watch them. Listen,
Well,
I'm just telling you a fact.
because
I brought it on my Thursday show. I brought another therapist on, a friend of mine, woman friend of mine, who's a therapist. Listen, our viewership went up because she make posts. She send this, that she into all that. So they think we got all these women here. I'm like, there's so many women here on the Therapy Thursday show that already was on a woman's network. Yeah. But now it's even more because she, and they just do that. We're different. And so
go, J-Rob.
I do like that, Lionel, because let me tell you something. There is a shift in the paradigm of work, right? And you find a lot more women in the workplace, especially in the social services setting. You find a lot more women in the workplace, and now a lot more women in managerial positions. The directors and CEOs are becoming women's faces. So now you have to look at the dynamic of the men, and are they feeling inferior to a woman who's making a lot more money? And will that cause them to stray? Because a lot of times, because you have an inferiority in one relationship, you tend to look for a relationship that you can dominate, right? Yeah. To balance yourself out. Now, I'm not saying every man does that. I'm just saying, but there is a percentage of men that do that. And so that would be a very interesting topic to have, because a lot of women who make a lot of money aren't looking for a man to make a lot of money. They're just looking for a man to be happy with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's the women that aren't making a lot of money that say, I need a 6-figure man. I need a 7-figure man. But then that 6-figure, 7-figure guy, he has options.
Correct.
So he's not looking to just be with you. He's looking to be with a few. And so it changes what they're looking for. So I think that's a great idea, because a lot of times we need to hear what it is that women are truly looking for. Because I have conversations with a few people who kind of like have a different opinion on that. Like the woman who is successful and went to school and finished everything, they're not the desirable woman because they have everything already. Well, when you get older in age and you think it through, you're like, no, that's a desirable woman because they're more mature than that woman who doesn't know what they want. And so now you get a different mindset. It goes back to when we were talking the other day with Dr. Doom and his mindset on how he views what type of relationship that he's looking for and what he wants to do. And you can't shuck a woman for knowing what she wants. You can't be like, nah, it's not the same. It is the same. It's just a different, it's just coming from a different person. And that's it.
Well, I think it's a great topic, even just for fathers, though, understanding how to check our ego at the door when it comes to that relationship. Because sometimes men just need to be able to talk about that. How do you as a man still enter into a relationship with a woman who may be making more money than you, but you don't seek to do, as J. Rob just said, seek another relationship to balance you out? How do you stay committed to the woman that's making more than you? What do you, as a father and a man, how do you allow yourself to be able to be in such a relationship that could be beneficial to you and to your household ultimately, because it may lend to you being a better father because you're more available. And your children are then more able to be there for you because you ain't got to run out and always make the money. You don't have to make that excuse like we often talk about, oh, I'm working, or I'm here. I can't be to your event. I can't be to your PTA meeting because I'm constantly working. No, that's no longer there. As a man, how do we check our ego to be better fathers? I think that could be a topic when she's making more than we are. That could be a topic just for fathers. But again, how do you grow that? I think we have such a diverse group of men here that we're able to talk about that from different angles and get younger guys in who may be the ones that are more unwilling to be with that woman that's making more money. Or if they do get with her when she's making more money, it's for the money, but not really for the relationship.
That's the baby boy part.
Exactly. Well, a lot of guys get with the woman for the money, but they don't really want the relationship. Oh, they know, oh, she's gonna get us some money. She just want to get tightened up now and again. As long as I'm there doing that, she good to go. And I could go do what I want to do. But that's what I'm saying. We could still make that even there, but I know having it with women on it would definitely heighten the amount of people in the conversation we do have. But again,
I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Gaspar. But I'd like to hear like Elder Thomas or Brother Lawrence step in to see your opinion on that, because I know you came from a different school of thought. And so with the ties changing a little bit, like how does that differ from the school of thought that you guys came from?
LJ?
Well, I know for me, and I come from a situation just like that. There were some years that I made more money than my wife, and it was a lot of years that my wife made more money than me. What I think we came to understand was that the money was just it was just a symptom of your success. It wasn't the focus of your success. It wasn't the end to be all. It was just a byproduct of being successful that money was. I think when you run into problems is that when you start making money the focal point at any time, then you tend to take ownership of it. It's mine, I made it. Gotcha. So I get to spend it. That's when you start getting into problems. But you just say, listen, because it's just like anything in life. I tell my kids all the time, you don't have to worry about making money. You just have to worry about being the best, because the best always make the money.
I hear that.
Okay, so it's just a byproduct of your success. So, and I think that's really a key. And and I think that's really a problem when men and women get into relationships, because the money becomes the focal point, and then everyone wants to take ownership of it. The man wants to run it. I pay the bills. I do. No, I made that money. No, I'm going to do what I want to do. No, that's not mine. I'm going to spend this on money because it's mine. And I think that's where the problem comes in.
I hear that.
That's a great point, Larry, because I think we don't look at the images that is presented to us. Like the idea that I when you were just saying that, all I could think about was Wait and Exhale. And that, that the husband had took the money and did what he wanted with it and left her with nothing. Oh. And you can pretend like that's just a movie that doesn't have any effect on generations of women today, but it does.
Yes.
And so when they think about the idea of sharing their money sometimes with a man and putting themselves to be vulnerable in that place, they don't know that way because it's a fear that this man gonna take advantage of me. They're not protected. We don't protect them, the whole 9 yards. And it would be nice if we had some new narratives, some new shows that show that there's many men out here who take care of their women, but not just with money. Okay, it's not just money that take care of you. There's tons of people that tell you, go and find them real rich women. Well, women married to really rich men. They'll tell you that, yeah, I have whatever I want. But I don't really have what I want.
I hear that.
And that's what, listen, I see love, and I see a lot of black love. And the sad part about it is all poor. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you real. The real black love that I see.
Let's go to working class or something.
In my work, no, I'm just telling you, the black love I see when I'm working, they poor.
That's struggle
They
love.
poor, and they working together to build themselves to be rich.
They're
A
below
lot
the
of times
poverty
they
line.
come in and they clawing, they know it's them against the world, and they got kids, they got all this stuff, and they working themselves right into a place, but they doing it in love because they know it's them against the world. Ain't nobody can tell them anything.
I love what you said, but I think we're going to change that narrative right now. They're not poor, they're priceless.
Yeah, what you said?
I said they're not poor, they're priceless.
They're priceless. Okay, priceless.
I hear that. LJ said that struggle love.
Yeah, it's all about relationship
Yes,
between the husband and the wife, or the man and the woman. How you develop your relationship, and you really want to work on that relationship so that there can be a meaningful coming together and work on see if you can outlove the other person. You understand?
I hear that.
Give them all that you can give them. Find out what their love language is.
Did you say how you could outlove the other person?
Yes.
Actually,
That's
like
what I'm
that.
talking about.
You like that too? I like it too.
Look,
See him right here. He coming with some zingers today.
I know, man. He said outlove. How can you outlove the other person? Wow.
Hey, before we wrap up, I know Frederick, that's good. Frederick Adams wanted to say something. I've seen his thing went up a few times, so we don't want to let him miss the opportunity to see what kind of wisdom he may have to share with the group tonight.
Fred, you there? Freddie, got nothing to say.
Frederick?
All right.
Okay.
If not, let me ask my young men on here, Rick and Marcus. You guys want to say anything from, share anything that you got from today's conversation? To get you prepared for your, I know y'all just Instagram lovers, but I see our relationships on Instagram. But you guys want to say anything before we get ready to log off?
No, I ain't got nothing to say. I'm just happy to hear about just happy to get information from y'all brothers and just listening to y'all and y'all experiences and stuff. It's just taking it to my own, because I don't have kids, so I'm just taking it to that heat,
I hear that.
All right.
Listen.
Marcus, you want to say anything?
Mark sleep. What Mark at?
Oh, he on a
work. He at work. He at work.
He at
work.
Oh, he tuned in.
Oh, well, but thankful for, he said he's at work, but thankful to hearing all the experiences.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad the young man joined us today. I share our link into a couple groups, and I'm glad the young man came on here. They don't have kids yet, but this is the kind of proactive kind of things that some people think that we do this just to deal with the people that's in the action. But sometimes we gotta be the post action. Yeah. But sometimes we need to be dealing with people getting into the pro action.
Yeah.
And because when we work with them, we may begin to change the cycle of some of the stuff that you can see and
Amen.
save them. Like Jay-Z said, we can show you from what we did so you don't have to do the same.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I don't really quote Jay-Z that much, but that's the only person I can think of that good quote right now. With that being said, I want to thank everybody tonight for joining us on Fatherhood Talks. If you are interested, fathers, if you're out there, mothers, if you know a father who maybe need to have more in-depth, exclusive conversation, we do have Fatherhood Talks tomorrow night, Wednesday, at the same time, 6:30, on Zoom, private Zoom meeting for fathers only. You can find that information in the chat. Share that with a father. A father, you can just link on with us. Or if you're trying to find out how to get in contact with us, if you look up Band Apps, Band, that's BAND apps. Look up the program under program groups. Fatherhood Talks is where you can find us. Or you can just, if you're already on YouTube and you're seeing us on our YouTube page, information about what we do and how we operate is there. It's not, we're not going to tell you after you get contact, you need to give us $39.99 a month. It's none of that. This is just an open group to have conversations with fathers, because we know there is not many settings for fathers to have a conversation, to listen, or even to be able to share something they may be going through. So we offer that here at Fatherhood Talks. With that being said, fathers, repeat after me. I am
I am
a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am
I am
a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am
I
am a man of respect.
am a man of respect.
I said, I am. I say, you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship
fathers.
Yeah.
And as you see us flex our muscles, it's not for aggression, but it's to hold our family up on our arms.
Yeah.
As we always can do, as we should do as men and as fathers. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you here next week.
All right, my brothers. Y'all have a good night.
Good night. Good night, all. God bless. Yes.
Elder Thomas, I don't hear you playing no Johnny Taylor in the background.
You
You know about that.
What you know about that?